Hey guys, welcome to another live version of She Knows Arsenal. Welcome to another player ratings. We are Emirates Cup champions. You'll never sing that. Make sure you guys like this, subscribe to the channel. And for those of you guys who are like, where the F are you? I'm at my parents' house babysitting the dogs. You guys missed it on the watch along. And if Anton Dunn is here, maybe he saw it. Zitch was there. Somebody vouched for me that in the middle of the watch along, there was a coyote right there. And I was like, had to go shoo it away because obviously it was coming to eat my dogs. And I was just like, it was like the craziest thing. And I was shooketh. I was so shook. So for those of you guys who don't come to watch alongs, you guys should, because it's all going off. Like everything is happening there. But Arsenal have beaten Lyon 2-0 to become Emirates Cup champions. We have finished our preseason strong. We have all of our players back except for one or two. We got to see a debut from Calafiori. So the player ratings are going to be very, very fun today. I think there's quite a bit to talk about, including the fact that we are still very much so set piece FC. So yeah, that's exciting. Nicholas Yover is still doing the work, still getting done. So yeah, you guys, make sure you guys are smashing the likes. And I was actually supposed to, because they were supposed to do penalty shootout. I was like, okay, after the watch along, I'm not going to keep streaming for the penalties, between the penalties and the end of that. I'm going to get something to eat before I start this stream, and I didn't get to. So I'm actually going to hop on an app really quick and order my food. So by the time we're done, my food is like at the door because I'm like so hungry. What do you guys think I should get? Actually, I already know what I'm going to get. I don't even know why I'm asking you guys. Like, y'all don't know me like that. I'm just going to order this veggie omelet with French toast. I said French toast. And my side, hash browns. And no drink. Okay, check out. Look at that. Food's ordered. All right. And there's 416 of you guys in here. Make sure you guys are smashing the like and getting into the chat. Letting me know what you guys are thinking and feeling. Eddie didn't play. So maybe he's close to going. You know, that was something that I thought when he didn't come on. Fabio Vieira didn't play, has another injury. I mean, I'm not saying that it's done, but that's not good. You know, for a player that is supposed to be having a big season, he definitely had an underwhelming preseason, I would say, and then now is dealing with another injury. We actually went on the watch along, went and looked up all of his injuries, and he's been injured quite a bit at Arsenal so far in his career here. So that's not good. And Timber, although he was not available today, the In the Knows are saying that he'll be available next week. So let's see what happens with that. But Big Smo says, is it DoorDash? It is Grubhub. Which is all the same thing. Yuri says, we need an upgrade on Martinelli. We need a winger in the mold of Ljungberg. John Donut says, hey, Jess, hello to you as well. Jose says, how you, Dia? I missed you. I missed your analysis. Hope you were good. Just waiting for the new season. So thank you so much for being here. Yuri says, what's wrong with Timber? Will he be ready for the new season? He is getting, he's recovering from the ACL. So I think, you know, if you haven't watched a player come back from an ACL, which you should have, because we've had players in the past come back from them, you get these little injuries here and there when you come back. And so it's a small foot discomfort. That's what Arteta has described it as. He said it's nothing serious, but they're being really careful with him, which we can afford to be. You know, Kivior is still here. Calafiori came in. You know, we have all of our defenders are pretty much here. So except for Tommy. So we're actually in a decent position to allow Timber to come back slowly. So I don't think it's anything to worry about at all, to be honest. And Ian says Arsenal is team like Stone. Okay. Seda says, can we have an honest conversation about Martinelli? Hendrik says, well done, Gooners. And yeah, a lot of people wanting to talk about Martinelli. I do want to save it for that section of the show. We're actually doing player ratings, but um, again, a lot was made of the left half space conversation around it. Just doesn't work, and it's not suited for Martinelli, and he just can't thrive. But you guys know I've always pushed back on that. I think there is validity to the fact that the left half space did not function as well as it did the year prior, last season. But that doesn't mean that his decision making should be impacted, his touch should be impacted. He just looks like a player that is maybe lacking a little bit of confidence or is overthinking things. So we'll definitely talk about that in just a second. But I'm pretty sure we're not going to be hearing any, oh, if you weren't on our side, don't come back, because after he scored against Manchester United, there was a lot of chat. And I feel like people are maybe thinking, just maybe a little bit quiet today, which I, I'm not surprised. So let's go ahead and get into the mess. Let's start off with Raya. Made some good saves. Maybe like one good save. I might be going too far. Made a good save. It's nice to see him back. One thing I will say about him is that I would like to see a little bit more of his playing out from the back. His long passes being a little bit more accurate. I think sometimes they get picked off quite easily. It's like he passes it to somebody who's already open. But I think all in all, he did okay. And he got a clean sheet. So just like last time, I'm going to give him a 7. Nothing special. You know, I might actually, for the additional save that he made when they threw it out and that player was just like wide open, Jorginho missed the ball, 7.5. I think that's good enough for the old Raya. Um, let's go with White. I think he looks sharper than he did the game prior. And of course, he's a steady Eddie for us. He's ready to start the season. He'll get sharper as the games go on. I'm not worried about Ben whatsoever. So I'm actually going to give him a 7.5 as well. Just above average performance, good, but not like amazing. Nothing to like write home about, but definitely like a good performance. Got a clean sheet. Saliba scored a goal. He looks just like his normal self. He's so good. Him and Gabrielle together is just like so perfect. And I think, he went to another level during the Euros. I keep forgetting that he had like an amazing tournament and he actually like announced himself as like one of the best defenders in the world, during the Euros. And he's picked up exactly where he's left off. He's so smooth. He's so confident. He's so cool under pressure. There was one ball that had gotten in behind Zinchenko, and I think it got to Maitland-Niles. He crossed the ball into the corridor of uncertainty, and Raya kind of missed it, and Saliba made that like last-ditch tackle and kicked it out. He's such a cheat code. Like him and Gabrielle are just so good together. So I'm going to give him an 8.5. I thought he was really good. And, he didn't have to be the best that he ever is, but he's still so good. So, yeah. Next, I'm going to go with Gabrielle, and I'm pretty much going to give him the exact same thing. Scored a goal. Super solid. Our center back pairing is what it is. Like, not really much to talk about there, but I mean, they both are just so good, and they score goals for us, which is great because our attackers were not clinical today. So we got the goals that we needed from our defenders. So yeah, much like last season, they will probably play a big part in scoring goals for us this season. Zinchenko, I thought was really, really good. I know some people hate him down and want him out, but he looks like he has, he's a lot more incisive. His passing is a lot better starting out in preseason. He looks sharper. He looks a lot more locked in. I don't know if it's just the new number or just knowing that Calafiori is there, but Arteta really trusts him. And as long as he plays the way that he played today, most games, he's so valuable, I think, to the team. So yeah, actually thought he was really, really good. I'm gonna give him an 8. Nothing to worry about. I thought he was really, really good. So let's see what you guys are saying. Um, let's see. TB says Rye was okay, nothing to do. Big Smoke says we cannot not buy a forward. Let's see. Vig says Zinchenko is good for specific games. I agree with that as well. I think Zinchenko is good at home in games where we're going to have a lot of the ball. North Gunner says Zinni was a 7, didn't have to defend much in the first half. I don't like most of our defenders don't have to defend that much. So, it is what it is. I feel like he was really good today. I'm not sure how you can refute it, to be honest. Saida says Zinchenko has had a good preseason. This is the thing. It's like, obviously we have football is subjective, but I do think that there is an element of dishonesty around Zinchenko quite a bit. And, it's like, well, he wasn't playing against the best, defenders in the world, so I have to give him a lower score. Oh, well, one of the players got behind him one time. So, but how many times did he pass it into that space that everybody is saying, like, oh, well, we weren't getting those passes for Martinelli. He did that so many times in this game. His passing was incredibly crisp. He didn't give away the ball needlessly, so it's okay to say that Zinchenko played really well today without changing your overall opinion that maybe he shouldn't be a starter or whatever. So yeah, I don't actually think we need to like pretend like he wasn't good today. Like we get it. You don't like him. Big Smoke says Zinchenko is best left 8. I don't know why we can't play him there. And our back 4 is solid. John says, is Calafiori and left back and Zinchenko in mid a great idea? There's a reason why both Pep and Arteta have not played him in midfield, and I think it's probably because they know better than we do. I think if we were struggling so much with our left half space last season and Arteta didn't see him as an option there, even with Kai not working out and stuff like that, I just think that there's just a reason. And I have a feeling it's maybe because he doesn't win the duels, so yeah, I don't think that he'll play there for us. Justin J says, big up, Jess, thought Zinchenko looked sharp. The will of the number 17 runs through his veins. Exactly. And Vic says Calafiori looked better once he switched to center back. I would say just like everybody relax. I know, like, why wouldn't you look more comfortable playing a position that you play more often? I know people want to like just put him at left center back, but give him a chance to get into the left back position. We know Calafiori is going to play left back for us. So it's like if you play somebody in the position that they're used to playing, they're going to look more comfortable, but that doesn't mean he cannot play left back. And I think when he first came out in the game, like Calafiori, he wanted to make like a stamp, like he wanted to show, and he was a little energetic and was doing kind of like a lot. But like, don't get it twisted. Like, he's going to play left back, you guys. Like, and Arteta's already said so. So let's not get any ideas that he's never going to play left back for us because he looked sharper at left center back. Of course he did. That's the position that he usually plays. But yeah, we got to see a debut. I thought he looked confident. I think he started to do the carrying the ball out from the back and looked really good doing that. And like his passes and like the execution of his passes weren't as sharp, but they will get sharper as time goes on. And he's a good defender. Like, I think he looked good, on his debut. So I'm going to give Calafiori a 7. I thought, he was good. Well done. Big Smo says, Jess, you need to go on other podcasts and tell them our attack needs an X factor. Everybody is saying we scored 91 goals last season. Don't get me started, man. Don't get me started, man. Like, I can't even do the, oh my gosh, we scored 91 goals. We don't need an attacker nonsense. Like, come on. Chris Frazier says, I don't dislike Zinni. He has a role to play, but if he doesn't win his duels is the reason he doesn't play as a midfielder, then he shouldn't be playing as a defender. Calafiori looked good. I just think it's like a whole different thing when we start talking about like duels in midfield and duels at the back. Like, if you're central and you lose a duel, like let's say he's in the center of midfield and he loses a duel, they have a lot more like a very clear route to the goal. Where I think if he's losing duels out on the sideline at left back, there's still Gabriel right there. He's still more like secure in that position. So I think midfield for me is one of those positions where, although it's higher up the pitch, I do think when a team wins the ball in midfield, the opposition is just so much more at risk, So I think it's more just like that. Your midfield is like your first line of defense besides your forwards. And just think about what happens when like Odegaard or, Partey or one of them loses the ball in midfield, or let's just say Jorginho against Spurs. They were in on goal, where when Zinchenko loses the ball or loses a duel out on the sideline or in that corner, there's still more that the attacker has to do to score a goal. So I still feel like he's better there than in midfield. So yeah, North Gunnar says Calafiori 8, decent debut cameo. Exactly. He didn't get a lot of time, so I wouldn't put too much on it, Let's talk about midfielders. I actually thought Partey was really good today. I thought he looked, again, sharper once again. We started to see more of him receiving the ball in the half turn and evading pressure. I thought his passes were really good. I thought he actually played really good today. And so I thought he was, amongst others, some of our better performers. Like I thought Saliba and Gabriel, Partey, Odegaard were some of our better performers overall. So he was a part of that group. So I'm gonna give him an 8. I thought he was, one of our better performers. Really good outing for him. And it's nice to see him look a lot sharper. He'll probably start the first day of the season, and that's great, So he looks so much better than what he looked like in America, so that's all we need. Rice, I thought looked sharper too than the first time that he played. Obviously him and Saka are a little bit further behind, but I thought he got into good positions. I thought he looked good in the 8 position. I don't think he hindered Martinelli. I think, he helped on that side. I still wonder if that's the best use of him, but that's just me, I just wonder what things are going to look like once Moreno comes in. I mean, when Moreno comes in, as much as people are like, he's never going to start, I think he's a lot better than people think he is. And so we'll see what the midfield looks like, because we know the midfield is going to include Declan and Odegaard. So it's either Declan dropping into the 6 and Moreno playing the 8, or it's Moreno on the bench and Rice in this 8 position. So I thought he was okay. I thought he was one of the betterish performers, but nothing to write home about. So still getting up to sharpness. Looked a lot sharper than he did the first game. It's that midfield works. We know that midfield works. So 7.5 for him. I thought Odegaard was one of our top performers. Probably deserved an assist or 2. Looked really, really good. I don't know what else to really say about Odegaard, if I'm honest. He's great. He just knits everything together, whether he's deeper, higher up, left, right. He just is so, he had some errant passes here and there, but for the most part, he's starting to look like Odie. Maybe we won't have to wait till November, this time around. So I'm going to give him an 8.3. I thought he was really good today. One of our better performers. So yeah, thought he was great. Matt G says the fact that Eddie didn't get any minutes at all is quite telling. It's time to move him on. Let Marseille. I mean, I don't think we're trying to keep Marseille from having him or anything like that, but let's move this on. Let's move this on. TB says, if I'm bashing him, it's because he can do better. I don't know. I feel like some people just have an agenda against Odegaard, and we don't need to bash any of our players, do we? Philip says, we lost to Liverpool, haven't signed any world-class players, haven't sold well enough. Arteta out, Edu out, Kroenke's out, Arsenal out. Saida says, Odegaard, currently my favorite player by far. He just looks class above everyone else to me. If he had maybe better attackers, I think he'd get more assists. I think he puts the ball on a platter for so many people, and they just don't actually put the ball in the back of the net. So, yeah, I think, Odegaard sometimes needs better attack or more clinical attackers. That's what I'll say. Yvonne says, if we can't sell Reece, I don't think we're bringing in coverage for Saka. Blaze says, Jess, you need to defend more Odegaard. Some Arsenal fans still disrespect him. This is insane. I defend him all the time. I defend him all the time. Like, I think people are so, like, weird about Odegaard. I don't know if it's because they wanted Madison and they feel like, they got it wrong. Is it because, I don't know what it is about Odegaard. Of course, he can be better on some games. Of course, sometimes he, gets knocked off ball, but he does so much good things. So I'm like, I don't know. But he's my favorite player. So I'm like literally always gonna defend him. But listen, um, I think some of his lack of assists come from the fact that the attackers around him are just not clinical. And today we saw once again that yes, we won 2-0 and we were very dominant and we created a lot of chances, but none of our attackers scored any goals, and we got the set piece goals from our defenders, but they always leave food on the table. Like, they leave food on the table. And Martinelli and Saka, for me, were probably some of our worst performers. Not like they were terrible or anything like that, but if it's not obvious that we need an attacker, I don't know how much more obvious it has to be. Like, we have two number nines or two strikers that are not clinical, and we have two wingers that are kind of like they're different, but yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Abdo says we are definitely not winning the league or any trophy unless we sign a clinical striker, and Arsenal are allergic to a clinical striker. They don't like those. I don't even know if it's just like a clinical striker. We just need a different attacker. Like, we could sign Kudus and probably win the league because we'd have X factor. I don't think it's just a striker. We need X factor. We need somebody that, that little pass that Odegaard put into Saka, we'll put that in the back of the net. Some, like when Odegaard and Kai Havertz put those balls into Martinelli, they put that in the back of the net. That doesn't even need to be a striker. That could just be a different attacker. In general, we just need more, Kamani says, my only issue with Odegaard is that he disappears when things get tough. I just feel like that's a narrative that's put out there whenever we don't win a game, they just disappeared and didn't play well. And I'm just like, yeah, but he does show up in big games. He does do those things. Like, just because we lose doesn't mean that you went missing when things get tough. How many games do we have where things get tough? Like, not very many. We just lost. So I think people are always trying to make it deeper than what it needs to be. When we lose, sometimes we just lose because we're not good enough. We weren't good enough on the day. It's not because of some deeper Odegaard goes missing when things get tough. Oh my God, Saka. It's not. Sometimes we just are shit, so I don't know what to tell you. But the fact that we're still having Odegaard conversations now, I just wish we would get another attacker that can actually put the ball in the back of the net so we'd stop having these conversations, because a lot of times when we don't play well in big games, it's because our attackers don't have the ability to create something out of nothing. And then we're like, oh, well, why didn't Odegaard score? Why didn't Odegaard? It's like, I don't know. He was one of our better players today. I don't know why we're even talking about him. People are trying to make him into the problem. He's just not. Saida says, when was the last time Odegaard didn't show up for a big game? It's such a lazy narrative. It is. But whenever we lose, your narrative becomes the reason why we lost. I saw people saying like, oh, well, we lost this game because some games people are blaming on like Zinchenko. Zinchenko didn't even play that game, or he didn't even start that game. So what are you talking about? Like if your narrative is that Odegaard is not good enough and he goes missing in big games, then no matter what happens in that game, if we lose, it becomes the reason. So, yeah, it's just weird. But Levon says Odegaard can't assist himself. So, yeah, I thought he was one of our better performers today. I thought he was really good. And he probably should have had an assist or two, you know. Let's see, who else? Jorginho, okay, in midfield, only got a couple of minutes. He missed that one ball. But we were exposed at the back. So I don't know. I'm just gonna let's give him like 6. He didn't really have a lot of minutes, so it's hard to rate him. Let's see, who else played in midfield? We'll put Kai in midfield too, because he played midfield and attack. I thought he didn't do a lot, but he had that one really good pass into Martinelli that was better than the Odegaard pass. and I thought he could have had an assist there. He had that one moment where Odegaard put it in for Martinelli. Martinelli kind of passed it too far away from Kai, but then Kai like hooked it. It was just like a little rough, you know. So not as good of a game as the last one, but I think Kai plays better with Trossard anyway, you know, so and he didn't have Trossard with him, and I thought like we lost that connection a little bit with because Martinelli and Kai don't play well together. They just don't. They don't connect. They don't work well together at all. So I'm not surprised Kai and Martinelli didn't really have that like synergy. You know, Kai and Jesus works, Kai and Trossard works, Kai and Odegaard works. Martinelli is just like the odd person out there. So I'm gonna give him a 6.5. I thought he was just like good, but like kind of averagey as well. So it just is what it is. Going into the attackers, um, or our wingers, I thought they were our poorer performers. Saka couldn't get past his man. He was poor on those crosses in terms of his headers. Like, if we're going to be crossing it to him, and this is my thing, it's like if we're going to be crossing it to him on the back post, he really needs to work on his headers. Because, like, remember last season when we played against Liverpool at home? We ended up winning, but Martinelli put in a really good cross to Saka, and Saka just like missed the header. He's not good at heading the ball. So, although I like the idea of having another way of attacking, it's not gonna help us if Saka can't head the ball. He headed one straight to the goalkeeper. He headed one over the crossbar, and then he headed one and it hit the post. So, um, I thought that was like, okay, whatever. But he couldn't get past his man. He didn't look fit enough, which I think is partly because he's coming back from the Euros, but also because he just hasn't had a break. And this is why we need a fucking attacker that we feel confident enough to start first couple games of the season, because I said this last season is the ideal situation is that Arsenal get an attacker in quickly early in the window. So like Saka could sit out maybe the game against Wolves and even maybe the game against Villa, and then come in against Spurs and Manchester City, and we don't lose anything because we bought a really good attacker, but we didn't. So we have like a rusty, unfit, kind of leggy looking Saka to start the season. And I'm just like, I don't want to have another season of Saka being in and out and kind of like lacking that performance level. And so, yeah, I thought he was just whatever today. He just looked off, and he, yeah. So I don't want to go in on Saka too much because it could just be that he's not fit enough yet, but 6, one of our worst performers, to be honest. Saida says, Saka usually starts season off slow, so I expect him to get better as the season continues. We still need cover for him, though. We really do. Johnny D says, Saka sat out pretty much all preseason. No excuse for the weak performance today. Vic says, we need a backup winger for Saka, more importantly than a 9, especially when the market for a 9 is rubbish. We really need another attacker, just period. Somebody that can play on the left and the right, that has probably pace and a really good 1v1 dribbler and clinical. Like, that's asking for a lot of things, but that's genuinely what we need, and we've needed it for a couple of seasons now. So I don't know what we can do, but like we need something out there. Nagoni says no Partey on the man of the match list, Jess. Come on. Who do I have on there? Well, I thought Odegaard was better than him. I thought Zinchenko was better than him. And he really stood out today. And I think most people feel that way as well. And Saliba and Gabriel both scored. So that's why he didn't make it. Sorry. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Jonathan K says our squad is lacking an explosive, unpredictable attacker. I agree with that. Johnny D says, yes, we need a top winger more than a top attacker, but I would sign right now for either. Levon says Arteta loves putting pressure on Saka to carry all the way. I just don't get it. Period. Like, I don't, as good as Saka is, he's not gonna, like, he's not somebody that should be tasked to just carry the attack every year. And Martinelli looks like a question mark, which Idealistically, what you would have wanted to happen is Martinelli to look like he did 2 seasons ago, Jesus to look like he did 2 seasons ago, Kai to keep up what he's doing, Saka to be Saka, and Trossard to score goals. But really, we have a real big question mark around Martinelli, which is putting more pressure on a club that even if that were to happen, even if Martinelli looked like he did 2 seasons ago and so did Jesus, we'd still need an attacker. Like, we'd still like, even with that, we'd still need an attacker, So, um, relying upon this group, not just Saka, but relying on this group feels very um risky because once again, they didn't score any goals today, and it's just preseason, but they didn't score any goals today, and we had to rely on our set pieces, and they got chances, so, they just lacked that clinical edge, but maybe they'll get better, but we know that we lack it, so I unless we're perfect, we'll still have those games where we don't score enough goals. So yeah, Keenan says City have Foden and KDB playing in midfield a lot of games. It takes a lot of pressure off their wingers. Saida says, although I would have loved us to sign Neto, our issue up front isn't creating but scoring goals. We need to add wingers, a striker that can contribute to clinical goals. Why can Arteta see this? I don't think it's so much that Arteta doesn't know this. I don't actually feel like anybody at the club doesn't understand this because the Athletic said that the club felt that way um, after we went out to Bayern. You see what I'm saying? So, they know. It's just a matter of whether or not they can move the pieces around to get that player in, and that's really the key, I think, is can they sell Eddie and hopefully do they have enough money? Are they gonna go out there and find the attacker? I think they know. I think they know, like, I don't think they're stupid, I think they do know. Burmy says, I keep switching between getting a winger or striker. A player who could perform both roles would be ideal. We just need to freshen the attack up. We've had the same core group for three seasons now, you know, um, pretty much. We've had Saka and Martinelli as like kind of like our main strikers for a couple of seasons. We added Jesus to that. The only thing that have changed is Trossard has come in, but Trossard is a backup, and Kai actually came in as a midfielder. So really, we haven't brought in that game changer, that big signing, or like not even a big signing, but just somebody like genuinely, like when we would have signed Rafinha before we went to Barcelona, he would have been like that. You know what I mean? Like somebody that just adds more to this attack. But we scored 91 goals last season, so it's fine, you know. But they will score goals. Like I'm not saying Saka and Martinelli will not score goals. I'm just we know what the limitations of the attack is, so without adding somebody else, it won't change. Like that's all it really is. So yeah. Martinelli, I think had the hardest time out there, really should have scored a goal. Probably more than one, looked indecisive, doesn't look as fast either. Because he couldn't create separation on either one of those through balls, not the one from Kai and not the one from Odegaard. And the Kai one was like perfect. Odegaard's, you could argue, wasn't in front of him, so it gave the defender time to speed up. But the questions around Martinelli still persist. I don't think we can afford to wait and see if Martinelli is gonna go back to his former form. Um, The left half space is nowhere near as dysfunctional as people are making out to seem. Um, Other players can function in it. It was good today. He was getting good looks. He should be scoring goals, or getting assists or something. He's had a very mixed preseason. Um, and I'm not 100% sure he should start against Wolves. So um, I'm going to give him, just so people know, like, I'm going to give him a 5.5, but he wasn't good today. So, yeah. Um, I don't know what to tell you. For people that are gonna get mad, I think the overall, with understanding that football is subjective, but I think we're beyond Martinelli getting into good positions and being excited that he's just in and around the box. Like, he needs to do so much more than that. Um, so yeah. Kwame says, what has happened to Martinelli? I don't know. I don't know. Jay says, if Nico goes to Barca, we go in for Rafinha. We just have to get an attacker in. Like, we just have to. O'Malley says, I hate all the rolling around Martinelli does on the pitch. Zach 10 says, how long has this theme about lacking threat for all our dominance been a thing for Arsenal? Feels like since we have RBP. Yeah, I mean, I think Arsenal over the years, especially in the Emirates era, have always kind of avoided getting the most obvious thing. You know, under Arsene, it was getting a couple of good defenders and a DM would have solved everything because we always had like the attack. You know, we always are missing just like a little bit of something. And, you know, now more recently, it's that, especially under Arteta, it's just like as good as the system is, and now the system and Arteta's coaching creates all these great and wonderful chances, there's always going to be the 5% of games in which we struggle to score. And if we don't get it on a set piece, then we're not going to score any goals. And that has been the case for multiple seasons now. And so it's not that our attackers are terrible. It's not that, but games like today will continue to happen where we'll have our attackers miss pretty, like, not simple chances, but chances you expect them to score. And the, definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So unless we bring in another attacker and zhuzh things up, I just think even just seeing somebody new that could potentially take their position will make them have to stand up straight and perform. Right now, Saka knows he's starting every single game. Martinelli knows he's starting every single game. Now, I don't think anybody will actually be true competition for Saka, but just even having somebody that could even threaten them even a little bit would help, possibly, especially for the other side. So, yeah, anybody who's been on the channel knows how I feel about our attack and also how I feel about Martinelli. I got pelters for it when we did the show with Gunnar Lee and deluded that I said that the only people that are in my untouchable list are like Saka, Odegaard, Saliba. There was like 4 or 5. It was like Declan, Odegaard, Saliba, Saka, and like one other person that were like in my untouchable. Doesn't matter what you offer me. I'm not going to give you anything for. It was like 5. And oh no, not Martinelli. No, not Martinelli. Martinelli is a level below those players. He just is. Like, he's a level below those players in my mind. And I had Jesus in that if a good bid came in, I would sell, because neither one of them, to me, are on the same level as the other players. So you guys know how I feel. I stand 10 toes down on it. And that doesn't mean I don't think Martinelli is good. I just feel like his talent level has been overstated. So yeah. Arsenal perspective, Gabriel was also in there. He was in the untouchable. It was like 5 or 6 of them. And they were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe. And I'm just like, if, like, I don't think it would be that difficult to, like, I don't think if you bought in Nico Williams or like when he was available, Pedro Neto, or, like those type of players, and we would see like, oh my God, Martinelli is so much better than them. I think they're on the same level as him, if not a little bit better. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, but I like him a lot. I just really want him to like go to another level. So let's see what happens. Kwame says Martinelli has not improved since we bought him 6 years ago. Robbie says we could say the same about Zinni. I think there's more to that statement. I can't read anything else though. Saturdays Equal to You says, what network was the match on in the USA? It wasn't on in the USA. You had to use the Arsenal app. Brian says, why wasn't you at the game? Orphan, tell them Moss keep you awake again. Don't know what you're talking about. Keenan says, Martinelli is our only player that can turn a goal from nothing to something. He is untouchable. When's the last time he turned something into nothing? Like something into nothing, though? Like, we're talking about, we're going to get into Smith Rowe territory with Martinelli really soon, because we're talking about things that happened like the season before last, so unless he can do some of that stuff now, um it's kind of like a moot point. He's not really that untouchable. He had one really, really good season. The seasons of other side of that season, he's been okay, or good, or up and coming, or for the future, or a prospect, or whatever. But Martinelli's what, 223 now, so hopefully he progresses from here. O'Malley says, same. I've been calling for Martinelli out for 12 to 18 months. His final product is trash. He hasn't progressed or has hit his ceiling. I wouldn't sell him. I just would bring in somebody else, and I think they'd like you could get like a Nico Williams or like Pedro Neto. That level would compete really nicely with Martinelli and would start lots of games. D Brown says Martinelli has to be fed from the left mid, which why he suffered without Xhaka. Yeah, well, I mean, Zinchenko was feeding those balls into him today. The left half space was not a problem today and hasn't been this preseason. So again, that whole excuse about him not having Xhaka is going to run out very quickly, because Arteta has made it his mission in preseason to solve the left half space. Not only is Zinchenko playing better, but he bought Calafiori, which is going to help the left half space. He's buying Marino, which is going to help the left half space. Jesus is also available, which is going to help Martinelli as well. So a lot of this, he suffers without Xhaka, is really going to start to it's going to expire, so if he can only play with Xhaka, which is what people are saying, without Xhaka he can't play, then he needs to sit, because Xhaka is not ever going to come back. So yeah, and Zinchenko was really good today, and he was putting those balls that everybody was saying he wasn't getting last season, he was getting today. So let's just watch the actual game. Get out of your narrative. Stop pretending like Martinelli doesn't need to grow on his own. Like, if we can all just be really honest about it, yes, the left half space could be better, but this preseason, we know it hasn't been a problem for anybody. So, come on, let's be honest. Let's be real. Let's let it go. If he can only play with, because before it was just the left half space didn't work. Now it has to be Xhaka. You guys, come on, be serious. Brian says he played shite, so he's carrying an injury or excuse or something. So listen, I'm excited to see what Marino and Calafiori brings to that left hand side. I think it will become even more clear. But it's just preseason. Martinelli, didn't really play Copa, so maybe it's just a sharpness thing. I'm throwing that out there as like a caveat to some of the things that we've said, that maybe he's just not fresh, because he didn't play a lot last season. He didn't play during Copa either. But he's another one like Fabio Vieira that's like, he has to have a big season, and the preseason has not been great. So let's just, but everybody else looked good. The defense looked good. The midfield looked good. The attack, there's still questions. Without those 2 goals from our center backs, they didn't score today. So keep that in mind. But then again, Leverkusen, we didn't have that problem. Leverkusen also were shite, so there you go. But yeah, was there anyone else? Ethan and Miles Lewis-Skelly didn't get a lot of minutes, but again, I thought they looked bright. I thought they looked good. It's nice to see that they're going to be integrated in. If Kivior leaves, I think for sure Miles Lewis-Skelly has a place. I think Winery's place is there. I think it's done. He's going to be a part of the group, especially since Fabio Vieira can't stay fit. But if Kivior goes, which I think he should, then Miles Lewis-Skelly has a good spot. It's there for him. And then Reece Nelson was Reece Nelson. It's time to sell. So yeah, you want to give him like a 5, 6, whatever. Yeah. Let's see. Kimani says the youngins look decent. They do. Vic says he didn't play Copa because he cannot bench those Brazilian players. Honestly, I don't think him not being able to unseat Vinny Jr. is not really a problem for me. I was just saying he didn't play Copa because it's just the facts. Like, it's not like a slight on him that he can't unseat somebody who will probably win the Ballon d'Or. Whatever. That doesn't mean he's not good, you know? Brian says, I bet you 20K that Solanke scores more than the German statue next season. Orphan, yes or no? I don't know who you're talking about, Orphan. Solanke scoring more than the German statue. Like, are we not over the Kai Havertz thing though? Like, I think he proved enough in this preseason. He continued his form from last season. It's like, okay, do you want Solanke to score more to be right? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Solanke is actually just a number 9. He may score more goals than Kai Havertz, but like, it's kind of like a dead convo, so it's kind of like, I don't know. Pro-K says, big up. Martinelli is not the problem. It's all the other dog shit journeymen like Zinni, Kivior, Jorginho, Fabio, Nelson, Eddie, Gabriel. Don't sell them and get a 9. No EPL. Whataboutism is just so lame. I can't. I just, yeah. If you're saying that, like, Martinelli not being able to trap a ball or to pass a ball or to score a goal or whatever, it doesn't have anything to do with you wanting to get rid of all those other players. So you're not really making a good point, like, at all. But thank you for your contribution. Yeah, Brian, I might need to put you on timeout because I don't know what you're talking about, but I don't know who you're calling an orphan, but you're not calling me no damn orphan, period. Oh, yeah. So I had to put you on timeout. You're annoying. Didn't mean to put that up. Levon says Tottenham will finish 6th, doesn't matter. Abdo says Martinelli played very good with the kids against United when they were playing a fast pace, but it's so obvious our new possession style doesn't work for him or won't ever. I also think the player that he was playing up against was a child for Manchester United. Like, it might actually just be the case that he cooked the kid because it was a child. Like, I don't know. But at the same time, like, if we're saying our new style doesn't suit Martinelli, it could be the case that, this is just a devil's advocate, that if we're saying our new possession style that's actually a lot better and we're improving, is what you're also saying is that we might have outgrown him, and it was okay to outgrow, Tierney, barely, because some people are still whining about that shit, but it was okay to outgrow Tierney. It's okay to outgrow other players, but it's not guaranteed that some of these players that were good for us 2 years ago are also continue on to be good for us now that the game is changing. Our style has changed a lot from the season where we first challenged to now. Things have changed, like, quite a bit still. So yeah, I think this is why I was a little hesitant to go big on, like, Martinelli and Saka are going to be our wingers for next 10 years and nothing is going to change, because Martinelli also is not an Arteta signing. And anytime somebody is not an Arteta signing, I always look at them as a possible, maybe won't be a favorite forever, because Martinelli is not an Arteta player. And Arteta always tries to get his players in. Guys, it's Bella. Do you guys remember Bella? Also, it's Bex. Do you guys know how happy I am? This is like my dream, having both dogs. I love them so much. So yeah, we'll see. Blaze says Zinchenko was good today, so I don't get how people chat slander. They just hate him. He's done. Like, he's done in terms of, like, the fan base will never, as a whole, want him around. He's done for multiple reasons that we've spoken about plenty of times. So yeah. Like Jonathan says, Arsenal were ready to buy Mudryk. They were going to spend 80 million on Mudryk, and people still are not getting that, like, Martinelli is probably not somebody that Arteta is going to go the long haul with. Like, hello. So yeah. Rabona Red says, Jess, I always thought you were a cat type. No, I don't like cats at all. I love dogs. Keenan says, if Martinelli's skill set doesn't work in our system, then neither will Leao. Pep has created a dynamic system that has a mix of possession and counterattacking players. Arteta needs to adapt. So, yeah, let's see how, things pan out. But next game is against Wolves, first game of the season. I'm really excited. We should be winning that game, obviously. We got to see Calafiori. The kids are involved. Maybe we'll get Marino over the line finally. Edu has said to what did he say? Somebody will put in the chat before I say it. Who said it? Because I mean, he really shouldn't be doing all this. I'll be so real. The last thing Edu needs to do is get the fan base thinking he's going to do something big at the end. Timber is expected to train with Arsenal this week, and Tomiyasu will still take weeks as per Arteta. So Tomiyasu still out, Timber back by next week, which is great. OM has sent a second offer to Arsenal for Nketiah. The striker is currently the priority for the Marseille side to strengthen their attack. The club are getting tired of waiting on Wahi. Lons continue to delay. Negotiations are underway for the Englishman. It's been going. Let's just move on. And I'm trying to find that one thing. Edu apparently said, be patient. Be patient. You won't be disappointed at the end, talking about the transfer window. Girl. Them's big words. Them's big words, y'all. Them's big words. So I think Edu needs to come up with something big after saying something like that. But I think, yeah, we're definitely going to get Marino over the line at some point. Eddie will go at some point, and then hopefully we bring in an attacker. That'd be great. Look how cute you guys are. Oh, I love them so much. So yeah, but all right, you guys. There's 1,200 of you guys watching, which is great. There's 300 of you guys watching on YouTube. The rest of you guys are freeloaders on Twitter. So come on over to YouTube so I can actually get paid for you watching. Just kidding. But I would love to have you on the YouTube side because sometimes I don't stream to Twitter, so you don't want to miss out. But hi to all my people on Twitter. Super excited that you guys are watching. Thank you to all my YouTube people for tuning in. This was super fun. Thank you to everybody who joined the watch along. Next watch along will be for the Wolves game, so make sure you guys sign up for that. And yeah, I love you guys so much. I can't do that's the millennial one, but I can't do how do you even do it? The Gen Z one, I can't do it. Is it this? Something like that. But anyways, I already recapped all the players and did the player ratings, guys. We did it quickly. So if you guys are just joining, make sure you guys go back to the beginning. But yeah, love you guys, and like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.